We are on vacation with my family. I've got my sweet kids back here, my husband over here, and we are going to visit a little thrift store, and they're each going to have $5 to go pick something out for me to flip. Be nice, you guys. Do you think they can do it?
We are on the journey to find something for our mom, and we are in the home furnishings section right now.
I found what I'm giving her. So while they're all shopping for their items, I thought I would look around and see if I could find some things for me. I definitely found some interesting things. This was a very small town that we were visiting, and their thrift store was just very knick-knacky. They didn't have a lot of like furniture pieces or bigger pieces, so you can kind of just see what it was. But I mean, do you guys remember those geese from back in the 80s and 90s? There's a lot of fun treasures here. A little bit of a step back in time, but some of these items are going to be perfect to flip. So I'm excited to see what my family does pick out for me. But just going through here, you definitely had to look through a lot of items to find the buried treasures. Pick out for me.
I picked out this. I'm not sure which is the top or the bottom. I'm assuming it was this one.
Show me what you got.
This is what I picked out.
Okay, all right. And what did you pick out for me?
I picked out this candle holder, I think.
My daughter did not seem so sure about this candle holder, and it is definitely a little dated, needs a little bit of a refresh. And if you guys have watched me for any length of time, you know that I love finding candles holders like this to make risers out of, and I thought this will be perfect. So after removing the price tag, and I definitely took this up to my sink and washed it really good with some dishwater and some like dish soap and water to make sure I got all of it. It was a little bit sticky, a little grimy, so we just wanted to clean it up really good. Now I'm taking some chalk paint in a stone color. You can see how light that first layer of the chalk paint is. That really is just giving a base layer so the rest of the paint can adhere to this piece, and you can see how much thicker that second coat will go on. So just be patient when you're doing this, work in thin coats, and you'll get the coverage will start to come. It took me 3 coats to get that design completely covered up and have the desired coverage that I was looking for. I definitely turned this upside down so that way I could make sure I got all of like the nooks and crannies on it. But I have this piece I purchased at Hobby Lobby. It's like a trivet, like a wood trivet or something. It has like little feet on the bottom of it. You'll see in just a moment. So it's meant to be placed kind of, you know, as a riser without any like elevation or something, I'm guessing. I really liked the design around the edge, and I've been holding on to this for a little bit of time because I thought it would be perfect to make a riser out of. I was just looking for the perfect base piece, and I think that I found it. To kind of tie these pieces together, I'm taking that same stone gray color of chalk paint, and I'm going around the really detailed edge of this. I did originally go over the center of the wood to kind of give it like a washed look, like maybe it was washed in that gray. I do end up sanding that off because I do not like the way that it looked, but I am really happy with how going around the edges looks to bring in that gray color, so that way they can look like they were meant to go together. Another way to do that would be to completely paint this piece that same gray color and then just go over it with some white detailing or some other type of detailing to bring that edge that has that really carved, beautiful like lace look. When you put in a different color on that, it's going to help that design pop. So I just went around swirling into all the edges of that, making sure that I got a lot of coverage. Now you can see as I remove the sticker from the back here, you can see those little feet that are placed on there. I just blast those with my heat tool and they come right off as well. So that way you're not going to be able to see them at all, but you can kind of see that it was meant to be like laid on a surface and used kind of as a trivet or something to be able to display things on. But it makes, I feel like it makes the most beautiful riser with that detailed edge that it has. So to make that edge pop, now that that gray paint has dried, I just lightly go over and just dry brush it. Dry brushing just means that you've dipped your brush in the color of paint that you're choosing. You wipe most of it off, and so you just have, it's almost like a dry feel to it as you go over that edge, and it's going to hit all of those high points and highlight that, so that way you can see this beautiful design on the edge here. I took what was left in my brush, the paint left in that was very dry at this point, but I did just go over the candlestick holder here just because I wanted to showcase the texture of all of the brush strokes from the coats of paint that I put on here. This is just a matter of personal preference. If you don't like it, you would skip this step, but you can kind of see the texture that it's giving and how it just kind of adds that. I really like the look of that. Now I'm taking just some super glue here and I'm just putting this around the candlestick here. I did not put any paint there, so I'm going to get surface to surface contact. That's going to give you the best hold and the best bond. And then just place something heavy on here to kind of get that bond set, or press down really hard. But look at how beautiful this piece turns out. I love this riser. It's going to be very versatile, something that you could use year round and decorate it for different seasons. I kind of like having it offset a little bit like this, so you're not looking directly at a straight edge. I kind of like the look of the corner. It's kind of fun to see a square piece as a riser. You don't typically see those very often, and I really do like the way they look. What do you guys think of this? Do you think that my daughter's going to be happy with this? My sweet son picked this piece out for me, and it's just kind of something, I don't know if it hung like off of a dishwasher or a washer dryer or something, but it has, you know, that vinyl on the sides. And when I started peeling this vinyl off, you can see how dirty this really was. It's not clean at all. So I scraped these off. I just heated it up with my heat gun. I think it might have been Dollar Tree vinyl, even because of the way how thin it was when it came off of there. But I just sanded this down really good on both sides, wiped it with a Clorox wipe, and then went to painting it to completely cover this piece. This is just the sage color in the Folk Art chalk paint. It's very similar to that vintage duck egg in the Dixie Belle paint, which I love. That one maybe has just a little bit more of a blue tone to it, but they're very similar, and I just love both of them. But if you can't get that Dixie Belle color, this is a great alternative to it. Now this is some fencing from like the Fairy Garden line at Hobby Lobby. I used it on a birdhouse a few weeks ago, or a few projects back, and I loved the way that it looked, and I thought this would be such a fun little sign to make with this. I was kind of thinking of making this as like a little hanger to hang off of a shelf or something, even off of like a door to a china hutch or something like that. So that was kind of where my mind was going with this. But I just kind of bented each of the slats on the end of the fencing over, and then I'm just using some hot glue to put that onto the sign here. The reason that you want to fold over rather than gluing this straight on is I'm going to stick some Spanish moss down there and put some little plants in here. So you just want a little bit of a gap or space between your fencing and the background. But this fencing is so versatile to use in so many ways, and I think it's super cute. Now I thought it would be fun to do like a little banner kind of on the fence there, so I just cut some little triangles out of some fabric. Honestly, you can't see it the best. I probably should have used a brighter color, but you can kind of decide if you like that or not. I just thought it was kind of a fun little detail to add. Now I'm just taking the Spanish moss, and I will take just a skewer stick here, and I will just kind of gently place that down in. I'm just going to be careful to not disturb the glue on the fence at all, so I peel it up or anything like that. It's got a pretty good hold, but I'm still just doing this pretty delicately, so that way when you see through the fence, you don't see right through to the board, you see that Spanish moss instead. I went into my stash of my greenery that I have and my florals that I have that I've used pieces of, because you don't need like a whole sprig of anything for this, so it's perfect for some scrap pieces you might have left over. I had this Dollar Tree lavender, which I thought was super cute to put in here, kind of going for a French country feel almost, or that Euro cottage look. And so I just kind of broke off the tips of this lavender because it was a little long putting the full piece in, and I end up using all of the little pieces of the lavender to kind of make this look a little fuller, but I just kind of went with those three, working in odd numbers, get those three to begin with, and then I just kind of broke off. This is some boxwood from Walmart, which I love. Pick that up when you're at Walmart, have it in your stash. You use it all year round. It is such a wonderful greenery, and the quality is like spot on with it. But I just take little pieces of it and just kind of glue it in and kind of stick it where I feel like it needs a little bit of greenery. This is where I realized I wanted to put some of those extra pieces of lavender in. I felt like it needed a little more pop of color than just those little sprigs. So just working around here, just kind of dry placing them in, dry fitting them in. And then once you have a spot for them, you can use your hot glue to get those stuck in where you want them to be. And then again, just going back and forth with some more greenery. Some of the greenery has like a lighter green tone to it. And so you can kind of play around if you want to bring in different highlights. I mean, it's just kind of fun just to sit here. I was just had a show going on in the background, just kind of watching that and just kind of playing around with this of what looked the best. And it was honestly a very relaxing project. And now I'm just gluing that little bunting banner on here. I think, or pennant banner, I guess this is. I just thought it was really cute. Again, a different color might have showcased a little more, but I really liked it looked like a ticking stripe to me, like the French country on there. And so I just really thought it was fun. But I just glued the ends of that. And then I even went back in and glued that middle pennant down. That way it's not going to curl up or anything like that. To make this banner look like it was tied onto the fence post, I just tied a couple little knots out of the twine and just glued that into the end so it looked like it was tied around the fence post there. Now, if you have a lot of hot glue strings from projects like this, take your heat gun and blast those little webs, the little strings everywhere. Be careful not to melt your florals because they are plastic also if you're using that boxwood. But I just kind of went around and that takes care of all those little hot glue strings so you do not have those. Now, I did just take some antiquing wax and painted the little eye hooks there because I do want this to hang still, and I thought that would look like they maybe were rusted, like it had been hanging over time. And while I did that, I just went around the edge of this piece. You can see it has that beautiful like routing work carved around the edges there. So I wanted to highlight that, so I just did a little dry brushing over that to kind of showcase that design since it's such a beautiful shape on this piece, and I thought it was really pretty. And then I just finished it off with some thicker twine. I picked this twine up at Walmart. I get asked that all the time. Rather than Dollar Tree on this, I love using some thicker rope twine just in their crafting section. And it comes on a huge spool of it and it lasts you forever. I think this is the sweetest little piece. I think it's so cute. I love that it went from whatever it was before and turned into this beautiful piece. I'm even thinking that you could use this to hang over the edge of like a tiered tray if you use some of those command hooks upside down inside your tiered tray. This would be something cute hanging over that, hanging on a little shelf that you might have, a little peg shelf. I just think this is going to be such a little sweet addition. What do you think of this? This little basket was so cute. I picked it up for myself and thought it would be a fun flip. Now the color is cute that it is. It's just a little bit not quite the colors I have in my home, and it wouldn't be a thrift flip if I didn't, kind of change it in some way. So I thought I would bring in a really like fun summer color of blue. So I'm using this as like a pool color in, it's not chalk paint, it's actually an acrylic paint because I was out of my Waverly pool. But this color, you can see it looks really cute. It actually looked really cute with that other lime green color that was on there. But when it dried, I didn't love it. It didn't match anything in my home. It was a little too bright. It kind of needed more of a gray tone or something to it. And it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. And so I'm kind of showing you the process. The whole time I'm painting it, I'm thinking I don't love this, but trust the process because that's what I always say. But I even kind of painted the edges white because I thought, well, maybe I just didn't love it. There was something about it that did not capture my heart. So I'm going to use this paint here. I love this color of spray paint, and I have this little handle on here that I just picked up at Ace Hardware that makes spray painting the easiest thing ever. You can change it between your different bottles. I love it. If I can find one on Amazon, I'll post one in my links down below. But I just picked it up at Ace Hardware. But this color was much more my speed. It had kind of that more gray tone to it. And I also realized spray painting this, that if you have a basket like this, spray painting is definitely the way to go. It was it took me less than a minute, I think, to spray paint this whole thing. And it took me 15 to get in all of the nooks and crannies with my brush. So if you have the option to spray paint one of these, do that. Now you can see this color here. It is quite a bit darker than that original color, but I wanted to kind of make it look a little aged, like it had been sitting around maybe a little bit. And I thought that kind of using a dry brush with some white paint on there was a great way to do that. So I'm just going lightly over all of the detail here. And you can kind of see with that trim that's around the top of the basket and the center of the basket, it really picks up this aging really well. Kind of makes it not so shiny. You can see the little pins in there that hold all of that wood into place there. Those pick up this detailing beautifully. Of course, if you don't like this step, you can skip it, but I really thought this brought this project to life right here doing this. And of course I go in and I get the inside, and you can be as heavy-handed as you want, light-handed, however you want, but I really do think that that kind of elevates this piece to a different level, and I really love how this turns out. I loved the oval size of the basket, and it fits 2 IKEA plants perfectly, so I can switch those out for different seasons if I want to, or the different plants that IKEA gets in. But this is such a great staple piece to have, and I love the fact that I trusted my gut and I ended up changing the color to something that matched my home a little bit better, because I will use this so much more now. What do you guys think of this one? I really want to think that my husband thought he was stumping me really hard with this one here. And for a minute I looked at it and thought, well, I could make a really cute sign out of it. But I loved the framework on this piece. And when I started to take this wheat that was on here, which did not smell the best, so I did throw it away, because sometimes when you're working with dried flowers and you just want to get rid of them if they're thrifted, because they may carry some smells that you just can't get rid of. But as I was removing this, which it was wired in here to this, it wasn't glued, which I thought it was originally. So after I loosened this, I realized that it's like beadboard in the back of it, and it has the most beautiful design. And so you'll kind of see as I remove the florals here and I set this down, look at how pretty that is, the backing on that. So I really wanted to showcase that. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, I'm going to make a riser out of this. I know I'm like the queen of risers or whatever. I love to make risers because I really do feel like they're pieces that they're timeless. You can use them in so many different ways, especially if you're doing like a party or a bridal shower or baby shower or something. I mean, what a fun way to make your tables have the different levels and have a beautiful display. But they're gorgeous for your own home too. And I thought this was actually, I made this in mind thinking of my kitchen island. So that's kind of where I went with this one. Now I was trying to decide the different shapes of feet to have on here. I have these candle holders right here, which is ultimately what I decided, or I had some larger, they look like wooden beads. And I liked those, but I really liked the elevation that these gave. So I'm just showing you there. I just picked them up at Hobby Lobby. They're both in their wood pile section. And I don't think I would have gone wrong with either foot that I chose, but I just kind of like the height that I got with this particular piece here. I'm just using some basic wood glue from Dollar Tree. Any kind of wood glue will work. It's nice because the feet are wood and the sign is wood, so you're gonna get like the best bond possible. I just let that dry really good, and then I'm moving on to the next step, which, if you remember, this had those 2 holes that were in the middle where that floral arrangement was being attached. And so I don't want that there, obviously, so I want to cover it with some spackling, and then I just let that dry and went in and kind of sanded it down to smooth it out. And you cannot tell that there were 2 holes there. It looks just like one solid piece. Now the color of paint that I chose is the Sage color by Folk Art. It's very similar to the Vintage Duck Egg by Dixie Belle. In my home, this is almost like a neutral color. I love this. It's a fresh feel color. It's not super bright or overpowering. You can match other colors to it very easily. I love the look of this, and I love the two-tone look of this color mixed with white. So what I'm going to do is paint the edge white, but I thought since it was already that dark brown, it would be fun to add a crackle medium. So that's what I'm laying down here, is I just went around with this crackle medium, and then I'm going to even this out with my brush. And then my instructions on the Folk Art one say to let it sit at least 30 minutes to dry. I usually let mine sit for about an hour or more. I usually move on to another project, go eat lunch, something. Just let it get really good and dry so you can make sure that the whole crackle process works really well. It's kind of frustrating when you do a whole process like this that takes a lot of time and you've missed a step or done something incorrectly and it doesn't work. That's always frustrating. So I just make sure it gets a lot of time to dry. I didn't want any white paint splattering onto my beadboard, so I just taped that off. And then now I'm going in with my white paint. If you've ever used crackle medium before, you'll kind of know what I'm going to go over here. But if you haven't ever done this before, don't be scared of it. It is such an easy process, but you need to remember that once you have started painting an area and get your desired coverage, you can go over about 3 or 4 times to get your desired coverage with your brush strokes, and then you need to stop and move on to the next area. Because what happens is the reaction starts to take place and your crackling starts to happen. And if you bump that paint or disturb it, it's going to kind of wipe off the paint that you've already put on there. And I mean, it like pulls it off in like a pretty decent amount. You can kind of see where my brush is right there, that I went over those areas and it peeled up the paint there. And that was just the edge of my brush just barely hitting that. It's very easy to go in and touch up once everything's dry, but if you can avoid it at all costs, you'll be much happier. So here I'm just painting the feet white, and I also paint the entire upside down portion of the tray with that white chalk paint. That way it looks like it was purchased in a store. You don't see any unfinished area, and it looks very high end and finished. After the crackle process has all taken place, I'm just going to peel back this tape here and reveal everything. You can kind of see where I got a little bit of white paint on there. It's just an easy fix. I'm going to touch that up. And then I also kind of dry brush a little bit of the white onto the beadboard to kind of help those little ridges and everything show up. But I think this turns out so beautiful. I love this. It's going to look so great on my kitchen island. I can change the decor out for different seasons. Just kind of a fun piece to take something that was a sign and turn it into a tray or a riser, a piece that you'll use year after year, season after season. I really hope that you have enjoyed today's thrift flips. I am so excited to show you the rest of them. However, I am out of time for today's video, but next Friday I have my 5 under 5 video, which is a decoupage theme, and I actually am taking the rest of the thrifted items that my family picked out, and I am doing the rest of those for my 5 under 5 with a decoupage twist. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video. It's going to be so much fun. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.